It's a crossover. I'm JD Hernandez, host of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
And I'm Robyn Leaño, host of Locked On Arizona Coyotes.
And this is a crossover on the Locked On Podcast Network.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hi there, welcome to this crossover edition of Locked On Ducks, Locked On Coyotes. Gonna go with that?
Yep.
Locked On Southwest. I'm Jason JD Hernandez, host of Locked On Ducks.
And I'm Robyn Leaño, host of Locked On Coyotes.
And we're just gonna shoot the breeze here today. We have really no plan, do we?
Nope, not at all.
Nope, not at all. So roll with it, guys. We're just going to have fun with this and go from there.
Hey, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So right now we're kind of in vacation. But first off, I'm glad that I'm personally back. First week back.
Mm-hmm. We're glad to have you back.
Yeah.
Like it's like a lot of people, a lot of my listeners know that I'm a huge fan of JD. He's a good friend of mine. We've done a lot of crossovers together. So to have him back on the network after being off for a little bit, we're glad to have him.
Yeah, it was a little scary, folks. So we're just gonna chill here and shoot the breeze, and anything goes. I guess the obvious one is talk about our respective teams, I guess. Because I know that our teams are supposed to hate each other right now. They're supposed to. After the last few meetings. Let's just kind of go back in the last few meetings. This rivalry has gotten worse and worse, hasn't it? In a way.
Oh yeah, I think it's just the players. When you have even just a small bit of grudge from whatever happens in the previous game, it magnifies every single game if said player holds that grudge, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger every time they meet. Yeah. And that's what's been going on.
Yeah. This goes back to the Trevor Zegras. Now, first off, that was an amazing goal, wasn't it?
It was an amazing goal. And
that was his second Michigan of the season.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think when you saw that goal happen?
I thought two different things. I think first and foremost, I was like, oh god, here we go. This is Trevor Zegras just showing off against a team that's not that good. And then I was like, then the other bit of me was just kind of more of like, in some ways, I'm just like, do we really have to do this now? Do we really have to do this now?
Absolutely. Look, I mean, the point of the game is to score as many goals. The point is to win.
Yes.
Now, was it a little over the top? At the time, I think it was 3-zip, 4-zip. Yeah, it was a little over the top. But the point is to score goals. So, I didn't mind it at all. If it was 6 or 7-0, I'd be like, oh, a little apprehensive. But at the time, it was still like anyone's game.
Yeah, I mean, it was still I can kind of understand where the Coyotes were coming from, and how upset they were, and essentially getting into a little bit of a scruff there at that moment, because hey, look at that in their mind. There's all right, you're running up the score by showing off of your skill like this.
Yeah, but it was a chance to show those skills, which I never mind. I never mind that. And Z is a phenomenal player. Phenomenal. And then all the other stuff afterwards, we don't want to talk about that too much. But
any of the truly quote off ice stuff that's outside of the players, that's something that's everyone's got their opinion on that. We don't really need to touch base on that, but because everyone knows your opinion on it. Everyone knows. I mean, again, my opinion too.
Yeah,
but
otherwise we're cool, guys. I promise. I gotta go back to the last meeting in Arizona at Mullet Arena.
Mm-hmm.
There was an awful lot of Ducks fans there that game. An awful lot. Was that a little bit not? I don't know what's the word to use here. But it must have been a little sad hearing it that loud for the Ducks fans, because they travel like fairly well if it's that close, right?
That makes sense. I think the thing about the Mullet Arena, I think that a lot of people had to understand is, it's a smaller venue, and you'd expect the Coyotes to sell out of Coyotes fans every single game. But when the Coyotes were that bad, and right now everything going on around them, like, it's understandable that there are going to be a lot of away fans purchasing tickets, especially since I meet a lot of Ducks fans in the Scottsdale, like, East Valley area. There are a lot of Ducks fans in that area, so it just makes sense that they're there. Yeah. Especially if they can spend the money. It's over $100 average per ticket. So, like, they're just like, why not? It's not that bad for us.
Just to kind of go, like, personal, there's a lot of Ducks fans in Coachella Valley too.
Yeah,
I see them all the time. I see the fans with the Cincinnati Mighty Ducks jerseys, one each, by the way. They started to kind of migrate east a little bit, but they will stick with their team no matter what.
Which is one thing is why I won't be able to wait until their preseason game in Coachella Valley.
Yeah, by the way, that's the other thing. Both of our teams, October 1st at Acrisure Arena in Coachella Valley. We know a certain someone that works there, huh?
That's right, we do.
Yeah, we do. But we'll talk about that later. Right now, we're up against it. So we're going to take a brief pause here, and we'll talk about other random stuff, I guess, on the other side. Now let's talk about FanDuel. Yeah, it is our favorite app to use. And, we've seen some of the lines for the upcoming Stanley Cup, like who's going to win them.
Oh, yeah.
You have a value pick there, don't you?
I do have a value pick that I put on. It's like 18-1 odds on another Central Division team to win the Stanley Cup.
The Dallas Stars. I think the Dallas Stars are a little bit high there. So maybe if our fans want to make a pick there, the Dallas Stars, they're a good team. Then maybe make that bet on FanDuel. They have all the futures there, right?
They have all the futures there. You can even pick your division winner. You can do a lot with FanDuel. It is without a doubt probably my favorite place to bet on sports on my mobile app.
Yeah, and don't forget, you also get, I think, $2,000 right now back in bonus bets after your first bet if you don't win. So, where should the fine folks go to, check all that out?
All you got to do is go to FanDuel.com/lockedon.
And once again, $200 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. And that is FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And I say this all the time, please gamble responsibly. All right, so I guess we could kind of shoot the breeze here a little bit more. But, let's actually do something a little bit different here. Mm-hmm. So you haven't seen this yet. So I put this out to the people to ask some questions because we didn't know what we were going to talk about today.
All right.
So this one comes from Seth Topol. So Locked On Wild. So thanks, Seth, for giving us this question. This is a good one. Which young player prospect are each of you looking forward to getting to the NHL level the most? That's a good question.
That's a great question.
That's a good one. I'll lead off with this one. I think the prospect I'm looking forward to the most, it has to be Leo Carlsson right now. It was going to be McTavish, but McTavish is now in the league, and I can't wait to see what Carlsson does. I think he might be one of the most dynamic players in this year's draft, certainly one of the fastest.
Right.
Great shot. And he endears himself to the crowd a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you've watched Leo Carlsson's interviews. He has a big he has a bit of a stutter, but he owns it. He owns it absolutely, and already I could see some of the fans go, you know what, like, he is unabashedly himself, and I love it. But never mind the personal stuff. He's fast. He's going to skate circles around some of the defense that are 30. You know where I'm going there.
Yes, I know.
I don't want to say it without saying it.
Yep.
He could skate circles around former Anaheim Duck Kevin Shattenkirk, for sure. So Leo is who I'm looking forward to the most. I know there's a ton of other prospects that I could list out there, but Leo the most. And also I'm looking forward to seeing what Pavel Mentyakov can do when he comes over. And Tristan Luneau, who thrived in the Quebec League this past season. I want to see what Luneau does. Yes, right. I know, and Pastujov as well, obviously. Pastujov, I want to see in a Ducks jersey at some point, or a Gulls jersey. So, but number one, Leo.
Those are pretty good. I'm gonna say, like, you know, Leo Carlson, obviously, like that's he was pretty high up in the in this last draft, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But for Arizona, though, I think the top pick for me, I think, shouldn't surprise anybody who follows the Arizona Coyotes. He's been named the top prospect currently not in the NHL. He did just sign his contract, but the top prospect currently not in the NHL in Logan Cooley.
Ooh, sorry, I got to cool down here. I knew where you were going.
Logan Cooley is if you got a chance to watch him at all during the Frozen Four, leading up to the Frozen Four championship, he played phenomenally. He played really good for University of Minnesota. Shortly after the election, Logan Cooley kind of was asked about, you know, where he's going to go and what his decision was going to be. He decided, you know, I'm going to play another season back at college, back at Minnesota.
Yeah.
None of us blamed him for that. None of us, because we're just like, okay, we understand where the Coyotes are right now, but we get that. But after everything's happened the last 2 months or so, you know, with all the signings that they got in, you know, bringing in Jason Zucker, bringing in Alex Kerfoot, bringing in, you know, a lot of pretty decent, you know, depth players, you know, actual role players that the Coyotes can get a competitive team out there. Clayton Keller just came up to Logan Cooley. He's like, hey, you know what? I think you might want to play for us this year.
Absolutely.
And now that ELC is officially signed, I could not be more excited. Like, holy crap! Like, he's going to be so good. He's going to be unbelievable playing for the Arizona Coyotes.
I agree 1,000%. Considering all the other prospects that you have, like I knew that'd be number one. Is there a couple others on that list? Because I listed like 4. Is there a couple others that are like 2 and 3?
You know, I'm really looking forward to Maximilian Super. I feel like he actually is going to be NHL ready. He's not going to absolutely stun you, but I feel like he's going to be like that. You know, going to be a perfect like role player for the Coyotes. I feel like he is NHL ready. After I got a chance to watch him at prospect camp, you know, just about at the beginning of last month. Mm-hmm. Now, he was pretty fun to watch. After interviewing with Will Scouch about their recent top pick in this previous draft, I gotta say, like, no matter how many people think that it was a reach, I feel like that's a good that, you know, like that's gonna like go 2-3 years down the road when he comes over from Russia. I really feel like Dmitry Shemishev is going to be a pretty fun player to watch. He's got. I mean, like the Coyotes need defensemen too.
Yes,
that's first and foremost.
So do the Ducks. That's why I entered Tristan Luneau.
Yep. So I feel like Shemishev is actually going to be really good. Like, you know, if you got a chance to watch him at all, like, you know he's going to be good. Yeah, his NHL league is terrible, but
yeah,
you don't trust that.
Like, I think he'll wind up in Tucson first for a little bit. I mean, good luck to me saying that name, by the way. Oh, I'm so looking forward to that. Why do y'all have such weird last names for me to announce?
Come on. Simashev isn't that difficult.
No, there's some worse ones. Kolyachonok.
Oh yes, Kolyachonok. That I took me a while to get that one down. So,
and I'm a professional PA announcer. It took me a second. I was like, like I actually had to break down everything correctly.
I think when I first saw him come in, I said Kolyachonok.
I did the same thing. Same exact thing. So I'm going to make this question its own segment because there's a lot I could do with this question. So what we're going to do is we're going to head to a second intermission and, you know, we're going to, you know, give a little shout out here. So we'll talk a little bit more after this. Stay locked in. Now a word from a new sponsor, and I'm wearing this right now. Birddogs. Birddogs are, by the way, extremely comfortable. I'm wearing Birddogs right now. I got the gray ones, and they have an amazing built-in liner. I'm a runner. You know I love jogging and marathoning and stuff, and I'm a fan of the built-in liners. They're super comfortable, and I think they're just like air wicking is cool, especially in this environment. You need something that'll keep you cool.
Oh, over here in the Southwest, it gets really hot. And yeah, you definitely want something to keep you cool.
Yeah, and I don't like those boxy shorts either. I want something that actually fits well and doesn't bunch up. And that's kind of what Birddogs are. So if you want to check out Birddogs for yourself, head to birddogs.com/lockedon, I believe. It's Locked On or Locked On NHL?
Believe it's Locked On NHL.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So birddogs.com/lockedonnhl to get your discount on Birddogs, the most comfortable shorts ever. So check them out. There you go. So I'm gonna have fun with this one. So this was asked. So this was asked by Trey Matthews, and this got an answer.
Oh God.
So first, Trey Matthews wants us to argue this. Who has a better chance of winning the Stanley Cup in 5 years? The Coyotes or the Ducks? But we got an answer to this question from our very own co-hosts of Locked On Flyers, Sportsology. You know him.
Oh, great. I love that.
Yeah, you know what he said? Ducks. One word. So, thanks for answering the question for me there. Love you, buddy. So, you disagree there.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with that. I think the best chances in 5 years could be the Ducks. Especially now that they just signed someone long-term in Troy Terry. Yeah, I could see the Ducks steadily making their way. They were kind of on their way before. Think back to the end of 2021. The Ducks were in first place. Oh my God, the Ducks were in first place. I was excited. Then the All-Star break happened. And then the COVID break happened. Remember the COVID break?
Yep.
Remember when everything stopped? And that's when it went south for the Ducks. They have the talent there. They have the young talent. I know the Coyotes do too. But the Ducks also have some veteran talent there as well. So I'm going to go with the Ducks on this one, with the better chance in 5 years. And I think at least one colleague for agreeing on that one. So, Robyn, I know what you're going to say, so go ahead and defend your team, but I am going Ducks on this one.
I mean, look, the Arizona Coyotes are progressively getting better every year. You look at Clayton Keller and his trajectory in the last couple of years, he has easily become the cornerstone of the Arizona Coyotes. Can easily be, I believe, a 40-goal scorer in this upcoming season. So, and he's only getting better. He's on a pretty good contract. The Coyotes have no intention of moving him. You build players around him. Like Lawson Krause, I think he's been a great power forward. He kind of gets in there you need to. Barrett Hayton has really improved over the last couple of years.
He has, I'll admit that.
And you bring in the prospects. Logan Cooley is without a doubt going to be a massive, massive contributor. Dylan Guenther, another massive contributor. We saw bits of him in this last season. I really think that they're actually going to be making the moves. I can go ahead and make the, not really prediction, but let's say the hypothetical, because it's
okay.
I'm going to do just a hypothetical. It's again it's not. I'm not saying it is going to happen. It's a hypothetical. It's tinfoil hat moment for me.
Okay.
But with the trajectory of them getting better, let's say in the next year, over this year, that they look good. They could very well entice a kid that's raised here in Scottsdale and Austin Matthews to come back and play for Arizona. I think that can definitely tip the scales in their direction a lot more. At that point, center depth is just unbelievable. they just have couple things they have to get going together. But I really feel like Bill Armstrong is making all the right moves to make this team a playoff worthy to Stanley Cup contention. And I do think like within the next not just 5 years, but like I'd say about 5 years is pretty comfortable.
This is a good question, kind of in that same remark. Asking which GM do you think has done a better job? Which new GM has done a better job for both our teams? Because we both have somewhat new general managers, right?
That's true.
All right, I'll let you take the lead on this one.
I feel like it's still really hard to really like get a full judgment on Bill Armstrong, but I feel like so far he has made all the right moves. I feel like he has done a phenomenal job for what he's been given. The John Chayka era of the Arizona Coyotes was a practical disaster. I mean, they looked like they were going to be good enough.
That's an understatement.
Look, they traded for Taylor Hall when it was not the right move to make at the time, and I'm like, all right, just scrap that completely and restart. I'm glad Bill Armstrong's literally blew the team up from the ground up rebuild, and has been doing all the right things. Make fun of him as you will for taking those dead contracts and whatever it is. But yeah, they have one or two in the next year or two, but they're done taking those on. From my understanding, he is done taking those on and is now going towards just let's build players that can help us now. And not necessarily long contracts, right? He's not trying to do let's sign this free agent to an 7-year contract just because we can. That's not what he's doing.
Why did you choose that number? And I'll get to my answer in a second.
But it's just the point I'm making is saying that he's bringing in players that could probably help in the short term, maybe even help build up draft capital or other kind of just capital in general. He's making all the right moves, and I feel like he's done a phenomenal job doing that.
This is a funny question because, up until today, really, fans were starting to question some of the moves that GM Pat Verbeek was making. Questioning the draft a little bit. Obviously, the big question, why not take Adam Fantilli with the number 2 pick, going with Leo Carlson? And at least we got an explanation as to why, and I get the reasoning. I get that he makes a better fit. I do feel that there was a little bit left on the table in the second round.
Right.
Because you had some good picks fall in your lap this year. And I feel like the Ducks could have done a little bit better job with their 3 second-round picks. Not that I wasn't completely underwhelmed, but nothing got me super, super excited about it,
Yeah.
So, and I saw you go with the 7 years, That was a contract that had to be done.
Yeah, I get it.
Because, you need to lock away one of your cornerstone players, Troy Terry. And this will be another topic, Trevor Zegras. He needs to be long-term. You got to sign him 7, 8, maybe even, 8 years, right? So, as of right now, I still think that Verbeek is doing a pretty good job. But there's still a little bit left on the table that I want to see develop this year. Plus, we got to see what the deals are going to be for Z and Drysdale.
Yeah, those are still things that he still have to be put into question. I think the big thing for me is, one of the big things for GMs that is they can be heavily overlooked. And I think it's really important. A really important thing is, it's like, oh, why couldn't you sign this player? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you draft this player? Most important thing is, I think, for a GM to not just look at their talent, but also look at their, term I'm looking for, it's just like their personality, their ego, their just overall, the overall feeling on playing for a certain team.
Right.
And in the case and I'll go back to Bill Armstrong. The case for Bill Armstrong, he's actually out looking for players who want to be in Arizona.
Can I make a reference here? Shane Wright.
Exactly. Right? Because yeah, sure, the Coyotes could have drafted Shane Wright, but what good would that have done?
None.
What good would that have done? And it would have been nothing because he said there's no way I'm gonna play. It's the same thing. Why everyone was asking why pick Michkov and why not pick Mitch Pog and you pick Shemishev instead? Because Michkov said straight up, don't draft me.
Yeah.
like that's the thing is like, and you just saw how excited like Logan Cooley was when he was drafted. How excited Shimashev was this last year.
Yeah, and
Connor Geeky, all these guys.
And I bring up Shane right for the obvious reason for both of us. You know, like
Yep.
I got to see him on a daily basis at Coachella Valley. He wants to play in Seattle.
Exactly.
But it was kind of weird after this season, saying like, you know what, like I didn't expect Coachella to be like this. Like he didn't expect to be so beloved
Right.
in Palm Desert. And he's like, you know what, like, good thing I was drafted by Seattle. But who knew? Who knew that he would? I'm gonna say this to kind of twist the knife a little bit. Who knew that he could love playing for a team in the desert? Who knew? Proved him wrong there.
Do love that.
I had to do it.
Even though it's about a 4-hour drive.
I had to do it. So we actually have more. So here's what we're gonna do, because we're up against it. We're gonna continue this. We're gonna have more content. Yay!
Yay! Love it.
So let's do a quick outro. Where can the fine folks find you and all your stuff?
Yeah, you can go ahead and find us on everywhere you get your podcasts, on Apple, on Google, Spotify, also on the Sirius XM radio app. Just gotta search up Locked On Coyotes. On social media, we're on Facebook, facebook.com/LockedOnCoyotes, and on Twitter, now called X for some reason, which is at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leaño.
Do not call it X, folks. First off, it is still called The Pond. It's still called Sirius Hour. No one cares about that. But it's still called The Pond. And it's still called Twitter. Anyway, you can find my podcast on Locked On Anaheim Ducks, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Sirius XM, etc., etc. I'm on Twitter at StimpyJD, and the show's Twitter is at LO_Ducks. And the email address is lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. We'll be back for more. Yeah. So, Robyn, Jason, we'll see you later. And do your outro.
And don't forget to howl on.
And ducks fly together.